welcome back to Free Media. I'm Robby Soave.
And I'm Amber Duke. Is there a liberal Joe Rogan in the House? Well, that's what Democrats are asking themselves, and they are desperate to find someone, anyone, who can win back disaffected young males, and they're apparently willing to spend millions of dollars searching for new talent. Here was Chuck Todd discussing the problem.
They're having to use anthropologists to figure out how to appeal to young white men. How do we talk to this strange and breed of American citizen that we've never wanted their vote before, but now we do? Sorry, I don't have that New York Times article, the Project Sam. You're like, are we sure this is not an Onion article or a Babylon Bee article, right? Like, it's right out of it. It is laughable, but I'll tell you, they did this. I remember a staff member of mine. I told this with Saliza earlier today. Man, I remember a staff member. This was during fall of 16. Hillary Clinton was doing a rally, and it was like, I'm going to be the president for African Americans and Latino Americans. And she just went down the list, right? You just pick your identity group, and she went down, young American, da 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 da. And my staffer goes, well, she doesn't want my vote. She didn't ask for my vote. I mean, he's a white male.
Yeah.
She didn't ask for any man. The only, and so it was just sitting there going, and now you're like, oh, we've got a problem. Well, you spent 15 years essentially ignoring that vote. And in fact, not only ignoring it, interest groups going out of their way to marginalize that demographic group. And then you're shocked when that demographic group doesn't think the Democratic Party wants them to be members.
So I have two edits, though, to what Chuck Todd said there, which was mostly correct, but two edits. One, the article itself in the New York Times was not preposterous. The idea is preposterous. The article was correctly skeptical of the idea and introduced a lot of undermining of it.
Yes.
What it went over was ridiculous, that they're willing to spend $20 million doing this talent search. Never underestimate the ability of Democratic elites to just burn through millions of dollars accomplishing nothing. Maybe you have even more to say on that, but before I get to it, my real quibble with what Chuck Todd says there, it's not young white males. It's young males. Mm-hmm. The difficulty is with young people, disproportionately male. Democrats underperformed with black males, hugely underperformed with Latino males. It's more of a young male problem. It's not a white problem. It's not. The Democratic Party loves to make this a racial thing. Obviously, there are demographic differences, racial differences on who votes for who, but he was overemphasizing it there. It's not primarily a race difference. It's an age and gender difference.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, the project is called SAM, Speaking to American Men, a Strategy. It's I think the word anthropological from Chuck Todd there is perfect. It literally sounds like someone from a foreign country is writing a handbook for how to understand the American man, or an alien
visiting Earth.
Yes, and they're like, how do we take over America? We have to get the American men on board. It's crazy.
Here's the part of their brain that likes sports. Here's the part that likes video games. Here's the Joe Rogan part, and the alien's like, oh.
Oh yeah, so interesting. Yeah, it's crazy. I think.
Are your aliens Latino? They sound a little Latino.
I thought it came out a little bit Asian, so I'm glad. So if you can't tell, then it wasn't racist.
Like the Trade Federation in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. But they had some podcasts come out over the past week of Democrat influencers talking about this problem, and it's of course, all the same people who were totally on board with non-binary, gender fluidity BS, and now they're talking about men as if they have any idea what they're interested in. The Texas Latina influencer Olivia Juliana, who I think spoke at the DNC, and then some other guy named Micah Irfan, who wrote an essay 3 years ago about how we need gender-neutral language in the English language. So those two did this 15-minute podcast about talking to young men. David Hogg did an interview recently, I think, with Bill Maher about
David
this.
Hogg.
Yeah, based David Hogg.
I mean, he's kind of right about things these days.
Well, he identifies the problem correctly, but their solutions are totally effed. So they were talking about things like, well, we need to message abortion differently. Instead of it being about protecting women, it needs to be about how if you're a frat dude and you have a one-night stand, you need to yeet the baby. Or we're going to talk to them about affordable housing, and it's going to be about how we're just going to build more Section 8 and We also hate the Republicans because they're going to ban porn, and like you guys like porn, right? So it's all of these like weird, like instant gratification type of policies that they're trying to tailor to men. And to me, like when I speak to my male friends, they're like, we want to just like buy a house and get married and have kids, and like they value responsibility and like masculine virtue, and the idea of just you can have like your dopamine hit, or the Republicans are going to ban it if you don't vote for the Democrats. I think it's a further indication that they really don't get it.
Maybe, I don't know. Some of those things you mentioned are actually what I would point to as maybe the better strategies for the way to win back over young men. It would be to portray the Republicans as, yes, the ones who want to ban things, ban porn, ban violent video games.
But you also can't feasibly or reasonably make that message stick when you're the party that is obsessed with cancel culture and policing language.
Well, what about banning like sports gambling and that kind of stuff? I know that's a new. I see those NatCon people turning on the sports betting thing. I think that could end up backfiring. But what I think of the fundamental problem is that if you had you need a Joe Rogan type figure, if that's what they're pursuing. We keep saying liberal Joe Rogan. But that is someone who, does a kind of all politicians are bad and I'm not for any political party, but nevertheless, here's why these guys are slightly preferable in a kind of vibes-based way. Well, the Democratic Party would never give $20 million to someone who did that. They would only give $20 million to someone totally on board with everything that they think to the most progressive corners of the internet. You'd have to, I can point to people who are kind of liked by people, Bill Burr or something, right? Is someone who's a comedian who's kind of anti-peace, sort of anti-woke, but is not on the Bill Maher side of the dispute, right? He's a little bit like, but Republicans are still bad. But I can't see Democrats ever investing as a party in someone like that because he just doesn't check all their boxes. I also increasingly think, I brought this up on Rising the other day. I want to see what you think about it. I was contemplating, who is the base and what they should be doing. Maybe the Democratic Party should honestly just like give up on males and young males and these various identity groups and the working class. Like, I don't think they can compete with the Republican Party for the working class anymore. Maybe they should just not even try. They should just scare more seniors into thinking the Republican Party is going to take their health benefits. And they could just be the party of every affluent elite, all old people who don't watch Fox News, and black women, and that's their party.
There's too many working class and young men and white men for them to do that, though. Like, that's the whole problem with the coalition, is that if you just cobble together a bunch of identity groups that are small proportions of the population, then you don't have enough people to win the swing states. Like, how are you going to win Michigan without any working class voters? It's functionally impossible. And then you have the problem of all of these disparate identity groups fighting one another. Like, okay, you have the Jews, but also the anti-Israel Arabs. Like, how does that work out? Then you don't have a candidate who can put together a cohesive message that makes those two groups both want to vote for you. So I just think there's too many competing interests when you're trying to battle based on demographics like that.
The hope for them is this is Trump's last election. Steve Bannon, doesn't matter what he says, it's Trump's last election, and it's not clear how the coalitions hold without Trump. If the appeal to Gen Z, to young males, is unique to Trump, whether someone like J.D. Vance can pull it off. I'm not saying he can't pull it off. It's just, I think, maybe not automatic that they remain in the coalition absent Trump. That's an experiment still to be tested.
Yeah, I mean, one final point on this is that the other issue that they identified in that podcast was immigration. And they were like, yeah, but they don't actually care about immigration. They care about scarcity. And it's like, okay, but your immigration problem, like your border crisis helped cause the scarcity of housing and jobs and all of those issues. And they also care about things like crime and like social cohesion. Like, immigration's a really large bucket. And to just say like, well, they don't actually care about immigration. It's this, again, like infantilization of the voter base of like, well, we actually know what they want. We just have to explain it better. is exactly why they're viewed as the party of elitists who turn down their nose at working class or average American interests.
Well, I think the Democratic the answer that some Democrats are trying to have to that is this abundance agenda, the need to we need to build more housing, we need to get rid of regulation, we need to do all these things that I think are substantively good politics, or a good policy rather. I don't know whether it's good politics for the Democratic coalition because there are so many left Democratic influencer type people who hate those ideas, hate them, and they're going to have a civil war over whether with left populism is the answer for the Democratic Party or the abundance agenda. These things very much are in tension. I certainly prefer the abundance agenda in terms of actual things to do. I don't want left populism whatsoever, but which is a better package for actually winning elections? I think that is not clear. To some extent, the left populists have the better argument there because they can say, well, you keep not trying our candidate. You keep picking candidates who just are part of, the neoliberal, it's pejorative for them when they say that, neoliberal agenda, and it keeps, coming up short. So again, I wish the abundance ideas would win. I think it would be a lot better, but I don't know that the Democratic Party is going to land on them.
No, and are the Democrats going to renounce Obama's rewriting of Title IX to revoke due process from men accused of sexual assault? Are they going to condemn the COVID policies that led to the loneliness epidemic among young people? I don't see any of those things happening. They're just trying to slap a pretty bow on a shit sandwich.
They are kind of with the COVID stuff, but I don't want to let them, right? They're trying to say, Pete Buttigieg has been doing some of those policies were not good, but hindsight's 2020. No.
Yeah.
We knew at the time they were not good.
And we're going to talk about that.
And we will never stop for another 100 years. I will not stop talking about the errors that were made during COVID. Thanks for watching Free Media. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll have more for you right after this.